coming up throughout our 14th and final day of training camp coverage. Rod Mackey joins me to preview what we can expect as the Broncos and Cowboys go head-to-head during their joint practice. Then Broncos pass rusher Bradley Chubb adds what he's looking forward to today, now that he'll be chasing down Dak Prescott instead of Russell Wilson. And finally, your 9 News preseason broadcast crew shares what they see from the stage alongside the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater. Day 14 starts right now.
Welcome to Broncos Training Camp 2022 with Steve Atwater. Here's your host, Alexis Perry.
After seeing the same offensive and defensive schemes over the last 2 weeks, today the Denver Broncos will be truly tested for the first time this season with the Dallas Cowboys in town for a joint practice prior to their preseason showdown this Saturday. Hello everyone and welcome inside an absolutely packed UC Health Training Center. I'm Alexis Perry, joined by 9 News sports director and your sideline reporter for preseason football, of course, the one and only Rod Mackey. Rod, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. This is fantastic. And you talk about being packed. I've never seen this place like this. It's insane. I mean, you can see the crowd behind us.
What do you think, like 7,
whatever
9,
it can hold.
1,000?
And the thing is coming in, not only can you not find parking, the building wrapped around, unfortunately, way too many Cowboy fans, but that's all right.
As this whirlwind of a week continues, it is only fitting that the Broncos would cap things off by hosting the Dallas Cowboys for a joint practice. Broncos head coach Nathaniel Hackett and Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy are great friends and work together in preparation for this practice. The main goal is to keep each other safe while also having great competition. And even though we probably won't see too much live tackling, if at all, what are some of the perks of these joint practices, Rod?
I mean, it's interesting because oftentimes when they do these joint practices, there's 2. Coach Hackett yesterday was talking about how this is going to be fine. They're just going to do 1. And it was interesting hearing him talk about how the Cowboys for today are part of our team, coming out of it healthy. I mean, everyone knows that's the key to the preseason. That's the key to training camp, is to make sure you're healthy coming out of it. We've seen, especially if you've seen any of the hard knock stuff, what the Lions are doing versus what the Broncos are doing. It's really night and day. So it's safety. I don't think we're going to see joint practices the way we've seen them in the past. You know, we're not going to have the one-on-ones, et cetera. But it's great to see how these guys really do, because, Alexis, as you know, we've seen defense, as great as it is to have Russ out there.
Yeah.
The defense has been great. Now let's see what happens when they don't know what's coming. They haven't figured out that offense. That's really what I'm looking forward to seeing is just the different schemes, because we've kind of seen who looks good, Broncos versus Broncos. Now let's see if that's just one side maybe being a little weaker than the other, or the Broncos just truly being that strong.
Right. Offensively, which position groups do you want to keep a close eye on here today as they go up against a different defense?
I mean, I'm interested, really all of them. I mean, as boring as it sounds, I want to see the offensive line. It's funny hearing Coach Hackett talk about how he keeps track of sacks and Russell keeps track of sacks and how many they say the defense got and the offense got. Offensive line has been beaten many times by that Denver D. Let's see how they stack up against the Cowboys. The receivers I'm really looking forward to. I mean, it's, again, so sad Tim Patrick's not here. I thought he was going to be the guy that was going to be the number 1 guy this year, even more so than Cortland. So I'm interested to see how those other guys do. And then again, now we get to see Russ go against another team as excited and as energized as this guy is. That's Broncos versus Broncos. What happens when he sees the stars on the helmets on the other side?
Yeah, you mentioned the defense a little bit earlier. What do you need to see from this defense here today to really solidify what we've been seeing over the past 2 weeks, is that they are just darn good.
I know. Are we too excited too soon?
I know. I'm not sure.
You see the defensive backs. You see K-Jack and Justin Simmons back there, and the communication they have. They played together for 4 years. They're great. And let's be honest, the thing that I am most excited about, and anyone who's been out here should be, is number 2. Patrick Surtain is off the charts. He looks so good. I mean, he's going against Cortland, who was one of the best in the NFL, and Surtain just looks like a star out here. He's competitive. Remember, he pushed him right here a couple of days ago when he finally caught a touchdown and finally beat him. I want to see how Surtain stacks up against that Dallas offense.
You know, one guy who's looking to make a splash here today is outside linebacker Bradley Chubb. What has impressed you most about his game so far in camp, and what do you see his potential is this season?
He looks like he's loving football, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He just looks so happy out here, so excited out here. Obviously, Bradley has had to overcome so many setbacks over his career. He did make the Pro Bowl, which was nice, but he's had to overcome so much. He seems healthy, he seems happy, he's energized, and he really, on this linebacking crew, is one of the veterans, one of the leaders on this team, and I think we've seen it during during training camp.
Yeah, I actually was able to steal a minute of his time this morning on his way out to the practice field to learn what he wants to show out here today. Take a listen. Bradley, your 5th season in the league, your 4th joint practice. What does the defense gain from going up against an offense other than your own specifically on this practice field?
I just feel like we get a chance to look at everybody and get a chance to see a different look. We've been hitting the same guys for 2 weeks now, and it's good to change it up and kind of get like a feel for where we at as a team.
You go up against a 9-time Pro Bowler in practice every day. Today you'll go up against Dak Prescott. You know, these guys, they have the ability to really get out of the pocket and create. How does going up against those guys really change your pass rush technique?
It actually betters it, to be honest with you, just because you know how to rush against these guys. You get a chance to practice it, because in the season and stuff, it's like a scout team quarterback doing it, and they might not be the same escapability that these guys have. So just to be able to see it firsthand each and every day is a blessing, honestly.
Personally, what do you hope to accomplish over the next 2 hours?
Just be the best version of myself. Do whatever it takes to help this team level up in a way, you know what I'm saying, take this practice to a whole nother level, and then be able to come off the field and know we did everything we could.
Have fun out there.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Before I send things up to the stars of the show, first, a couple of roster notes for you. Last night, a couple transactions were made. The team signed a pair of running backs, and Jaquan Hardy and Stevie Scott III, while adding outside linebacker Christopher Allen to the IR and designating running back Tyreek McAllister to waived injured. Now I'm thrilled to hand over the reins of the show to the Hall of Famer Steve Atwater and introduce the guys who will be sharing the stage today and the television booth throughout the Broncos preseason. The best broadcast crew in the league, play-by-play extraordinaire Steve Levy, Super Bowl 50 champion Ryan Harris, and 3-time Pro Bowler Chad Brown. Gentlemen, take it away.
Hey, thanks so much, Alexis. I got some superstars up here on the stage with me. I'm so honored to have all your
Where are they?
Point them out, please.
Let me pull out the mirror for you.
For you, yeah, it's you. Yeah, you are the superstar.
Says the Hall of Famer.
Come on, man.
Says the Hall of
Congratulations
Famer.
again. How was it going out there?
It was great. We had a wonderful time. This year, we got a chance to spend a little bit more time with the Hall of Famers, so I got a chance to know, some of the guys who I really hadn't got a chance to, sit down and talk with much before then. So, yeah, I had a really nice time.
Well deserved. Well deserved.
Thank you. So, you guys been up here taking a look at the team. You've been out to some previous practices. What do you think?
Well, I'm looking forward to today's practice. It's been difficult to evaluate this football team. Coach Hackett's training camp schedule is different than the NFL you and I played in.
Yes.
So the chance to look at guys in one-on-one drills, some of the more competitive periods. There hasn't been a full-speed tackling period just yet. So for the football coach in me who wants to evaluate these guys as football players, it's been kind of difficult. So today is going to be really instrumental to see where this team is.
Now, do you think you'll be able to get a good picture of that after this practice? We're not sure how they're going to practice. It may be similar to what we've seen up to this point.
A better picture. I won't say a complete picture.
All right.
We'll get that after Saturday night, but a better picture will be today. But look, there's already a player, a Dallas Cowboy down on the field. So the worst thing that any coach wants in these training camp practices is a guy down on the field, and then practice hasn't even gotten rolling yet, and there's already a Cowboy being attended to.
Yeah, so hey, all the Broncos country out there watching, as we go through today, we will not show you the full picture. You won't see a full play run. You won't see the play fully developed and guys going in motion, just because guess what? We got some Raiders fans out there. We got some Kansas City Chiefs fans. We got some Chargers fans out there watching, and we're not going to give them the goods before time. So, I just wanted to just throw that out there, so when you guys are watching, if you don't see what you're looking for, just know that's the reason why.
Hey, you got to come out. You want to see the plays.
You got to come out.
Come on out.
Come on out.
And that's my early takeaway from landing this morning. The enthusiasm of the crowd here. This is my 4th preseason with the Broncos, and this is by far the biggest crowd I've seen, and it's just great to see. It's great to have NFL football back.
Yeah, it is a big crowd out here. I see a lot of Broncos fans, but I also see a lot of Cowboys fans. Did these guys come in from Dallas, or are they living here in Denver?
They're all over, the Cowboys. But you also want that for your young players right now in training camp, because guess what? You're going to see that star of the Dallas Cowboys. You're going to see the Steelers logo, and that is a feeling. I mean, those of us who have played, we've seen it. Even Steve broadcasting, you're like, oh, that's the Patriots. That's actually, what that helmet looks like. So it's good at this point at training camp to get that newness away and understand you're in the NFL and you have more work to do.
Yeah. Now, what do you guys think about joint practices in general? I mean, are you a fan of them? Do you dislike them? What are your thoughts?
As a player, it's always a great chance to see another level of competition. These practices kind of ratchet up your intensity during practice. I've done 4 coaching internships. They're also really instrumental from that side as well. Helps you get to evaluate your guys. At some point, as a pass rusher, you know what that offensive tackle you see every day does. You know his weaknesses, you know his strengths. When you do these joint practices, oftentimes you don't get a chance to watch film and scout your opponent. So it's literally just you going against somebody and being forced to react live as a player. That's a great evaluation tool for a coach.
It also lets you get the nasty out, right? You can't really finish your teammates, but as soon as you have an opponent now, you can put people to the ground and, create some animosity. So this is the first time you can really take it to the edge. I always loved joint practices when I was playing because I got to, get after somebody and find a new level for me of where I needed to be for the season.
And as a member of the media, I like it because I like to walk in between the two fields and your head's on a swivel, right?
Yeah.
There's no downtime, right? Because you're looking over here, they do a play, then you're looking over here, and then they got a play going. And a lot of time it is best on best, which is exciting. And if you get really lucky, there's a skirmish on either
That's
side.
what I was about to bring up. I was like,
let's get after it.
Yeah.
I'll be disappointed if there's not 1 or 2 today.
how many fights have you seen with joint practices?
Yeah.
All of them. All the joint practices. All the joint practices.
Coach McCarthy did speak to the media earlier today, and he says he wants no fights out here, and you'll be kicked out of this practice.
They all say
that every year.
Publicly.
Inside, they're rooting for a fight.
Yes.
They want to see that competitive nature from their guys.
Yeah, they definitely want to see the fight. So, we're going to have special teams. They're going against each other right now. We're going to do some punt return. And then we're going to have several team drills where the Broncos offense will go against Cowboys defense. Cowboys offense will be going against Broncos defense, 1s, 2s, and 3s. So it's going to be an interesting day. What are you guys looking for when you see joint practices? What are some key things you'll be looking at, Ryan?
Execution in situational football. You're going to have a red zone period. You're going to have a third down period, a blitz period. Execute and have minimal mental errors in those situations because that's what football comes down to. There's going to be 4 or 5 plays in a drive that are in a situation, either converting that third down, making the trip worth it in the red zone, and you start getting good at that right now. And what fans forget, when you're playing each other as a team, the offensive coach will give the defensive coaches the plays so they can draw up the blitzes. Defensive coaches the next day will give the plays to offense. But here, this is pure football. You're calling a play offensively or defensively. You don't know what you're going to get on the other side.
Yeah. I'm looking for my team to match the opponent as far as their intensity. When the San Francisco 49ers came in here a couple years ago, they blew the Broncos off the field from an intensity standpoint, from a passion standpoint.
Do you want them to match it or do you want them to set the intensity?
I at least want them to match it.
Okay.
But I would prefer for them to be a more aggressive team and set that intensity level.
Yeah. What about you, Steve?
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing some of the younger players, right? It ratchets up, right, these practices at training camp. Okay, now we see another opponent, and then the next step is the preseason game, right? So this is the next natural step, I think, for the rookies. I particularly like the undrafted guys, right? The unheralded guys. There's always a guy who makes a team, right? In fact, there's 3 or 4, and on really good teams still. And it's the competition. They push other players, maybe some veteran players, to get it going and gear a little bit as well. I'll be watching for that.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be looking at this Broncos offensive line because we got this outside zone run scheme, and I want to see how good of a fit it is for our guys, for Garrett Bowles, for Quinn Miners, for Dalton Reisner, Calvin Anderson. So that's what I'll be focused on today.
Well, and they need to get the run game going. The West Coast offense is nothing without the run game. Most of the passing game is built off of it, and the Broncos start the day with the run just to set the tone. Offensively, we may have Russell Wilson, but we have to run the football up front too.
Okay, hey, I see we're going to be doing a little third now.
Yeah.
I was anxious to see if the defense was going to do that, if they're going to, get some pads on pads, because we haven't really seen. We saw a little bit of it.
Yeah.
But when you're going against your own guys, it's very light. So I'm going to see if that picks up a little bit. We dodged the guy over there on the other field over there.
Yeah, now I always thought in practices like this, make the coach reel you back in. Push it to the edge. Don't be out there having your coach encourage you. Go push the edge, make a tackle or a play or two.
All right. Nice reception by Cortland Sutton. The dime thrown from Russell Wilson. I'm sorry, go ahead, Chuck.
I was going to say, great route by Cortland Sutton. Play action pass, so that outside zone scheme. You want those linebackers and safeties to bite up on that and respect that outside zone scheme. Got that from the Dallas defense. Russell Wilson held the ball well. Cortland Sutton runs a great route. That's the kind of thing that you can do when that outside zone is clicking.
Yeah. Now, you ran outside zone, right, Ryan?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Which defenses did you find were more difficult? Were they zone defenses, man defenses? What did you find more difficult to attack?
The 4-3 against the zone run is tough because if those linebackers don't flow, now you've got issues in the cutback lanes. You don't know where those guys. But a 3-4, they typically have to declare where they're going earlier. You can pick out the liar of the linebacker, you know. And there's more creases.
Linebackers don't lie. Come on.
You're not blitzing. You're just, leaning in to hear the snap count, right?
Right,
you
exactly.
Yeah, we saw a nice cutback run by Javonte Williams there. Man, I really like Javonte Williams. And it looks like, obviously, he and Melvin Gordon will be sharing the carries there, but hey, I think he's the #1 right now. What do you guys think about that? Second-year player, you know that Melvin Gordon is proven veteran. How do you feel about them making that decision this early on to say, hey, he's the #1 guy? I don't know if they said that officially, but
it was on the depth chart. First depth chart came out.
There we go.
So that's all we can go off of, and it looks like Javonte's won.
Well, and I love he stayed healthy last year. Almost 1,000 yards as a backup. That's unheard of. And he's so great with the football, holding on to it. There are multiple times in the season he carried defenders 10, 15 yards, letting his linemen catch back up to him and clean the pile. He's just a hard-nosed runner. I got to see him when he was at North Carolina, too. He's added explosiveness and speed since his college game. I always love players that continue to grow and work on their craft.
So skirmish. I got a skirmish over there.
Yeah.
First skirmish.
There we go. Hey, we knew it's going to happen.
Crowd roared.
It happened pretty early on, too.
Yeah. Cowboys offense, Broncos defense getting into it over there. From a defensive perspective, when you've got two backs, each back runs the same play a little bit differently, so it almost doubles up your playbook as a play caller, because defensively, I'm looking at the same blocking scheme, but this back cuts back faster. This back pushes the front side a little bit differently. So it's when you have two backs who can both be effective, it doubles up that run game for, as far as a preparation standpoint for a defense.
Yeah.
See Josh Johnson taking some snaps now.
Yeah.
13th different NFL team. If we combine you three, did you guys play on 13 teams?
No, I don't think so.
I got three.
Sure.
I got three.
I got 4.
I got 2.
There you go.
That's not 13.
There we go.
You're way
all
under.
right, guys. But I love that you see him continue to play. I mean, 8 years, 13 teams. That's a lot. That's a lot of want to, and you don't always get that with players. Sometimes just getting to the NFL is good enough for them. But hanging on to your dream, working at it, persevering, that's something that we all have to do in life.
Yes. Previous play, you saw Montreal, Washington with the reception. Man, have you guys seen Montreal, Washington go? What do you think about this guy? I thought coming out, I was like, hey, he's going to be a playmaker from seeing his college tape at Sanford. He's just a playmaker, and I love his attitude. He's saying he's fearless. He wants to catch every punt, but obviously he can't do that. But what do you guys seeing this game?
I thought he's had a great camp so far. Arguably the best receiver to have a camp this year, I think, for the Broncos, which is saying a lot. Understanding he's learning how to play a whole nother level of game with a new playbook. And they need him. With the injury to Tim Patrick, they need him in the red zone. They need him on 3rd down. He could be a big plus for the Broncos this year.
Definitely a guy who's got some explosiveness to his game. I do have a little bit of worry about some of the size stuff. When you're a smaller receiver and you haven't had a lot of contact during training camp, do you have the ball security down once preseason games and the regular season rolls around?
You mentioned punt return, too. I mean, to me, that's a big spot. That's been an area of weakness for the Broncos a few years now, is the return game. And so he looks like he can really do that and be a spark.
Now, the question becomes, if he's going to be the replacement for Tim Patrick, will you still keep him as punt returner?
That's a good question for the coaching staff. That's a valuable spot,
Yeah, that punt returner position is extremely important there, too.
I always liked, as an offensive player, I always liked when we had a veteran back there to receive the punt, because Steve, from playing half the time in a game, that punt is either it's within the 10 yards and you're calling it off, or you're fair catching on the 12. And you need that experience of a veteran. And people forget, you hear the pounding of the feet of people coming down on you, trying to tackle you. So you need somebody back there who can handle it. It's tough for me to put a rookie back there, but if he's got the talent, let him play.
Special teams have been an issue for this Broncos team for a number of years. So I think any kind of improvement that you can get anywhere in there is going to help out. But for this team to be what we think it can be, the special teams has to hold up its end of the bargain. And Montreal Washington can be a guy, again, that adds some explosiveness to that return game.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. Just saw the running backs there on the screen. Jerry Jeudy. Wow. I'm expecting a big year out of him.
He needs to have one. He needs to. I can't imagine. It had to have been his first time as a football player not having a touchdown in a season last year.
I had to do the double take, man. I'm going over the notes, and I saw that too, and I'm like, that can't be right.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Well, it wasn't all his fault,
Right.
and now he's got a great offensive coaching staff. So now the excuses are gone. He's got the quarterback. He's got the coaching staff. The best thing for Jerry Jeudy I've seen this camp, he's catching the ball with his hands. That's a huge development for him, and that's something that's going to help him get past that 1,000-yard reception mark.
Yeah, and how do you have a comeback from a season like that where you don't get into the end zone, you don't get the ball as much as you want? You know, there was some frustration from him. How do you get rid of all that frustration and come out here with a brand new attitude and be the best you can be?
You don't press. You don't press. You cannot force things to happen out there. You've got to show the coaches, I'm ready to seize this opportunity. I'm prepared for the season. But if you go out there and press and try to play past yourself, that's not how you get yourself back to where you want to be.
And I was just saying, you know he's heard what we just mentioned, the no touchdowns, right? I mean, that's been in his ear, people chirping, loved ones, friends, family, and fans too, right? So, you know, you can try to block that out. I guess that's part of being a professional. You take the next step, right? Another year of full off season. But I think the quarterback makes a difference too. Russell Wilson, maybe the best deep ball still in the NFL. That's got to help get you in the end zone.
Well, if you're a coach, the coaching staff, Nathaniel Hackett, Justin Outen, I'm making sure we're getting 5 to 6 plays to Jerry Jeudy early in the game. And the preseason is a way to kind of get that started if you can. But make sure you target him and let him know early, hey, you're a part of this offense. You're a part of our success. You got to make plays early and often.
I'd be willing to bet, hey, in the first game of the season, regular season game, first touchdown will be scored by Jerry Jeudy.
Right.
Just to get his mindset right.
All right.
You know, Coach Hackett, he's up on all that, man.
Yeah. Somebody run to Vegas, get to the window. That sounds like a good prop bet.
Yes. Oh man, such a beautiful day out here. Russell Wilson at the helm as the quarterback. What did you guys think when we signed Russell Wilson? Did you believe it when you first saw it, or did you say, wait a minute now? That didn't happen.
Well, immediately they became a contender for the World Championship, and it's fun because I know from playing with Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger, when you have elite quarterbacks, they lift the entire game. The huddle, the snap count, the play call, everything is intense, and you have so many options on the field offensively.
I've had elite quarterbacks and I've had quarterbacks who weren't so elite. And though every time I've stepped on the football field as a NFL player, I expected to win. The belief I got from Tom Brady was different than, say, I won't mention anyone else's names.
Yeah.
But there's a sense of belief and confidence that comes when you have that guy. The Broncos have that guy in place now. It's just a point now of, can he and Coach Hackett come together and kind of make this offense that works for both of them? All these new pieces coming together, it's not a question of if, it is a question of when.
And look, for me, it's been a question mark, since Super Bowl 50 almost, right? A question mark at quarterback. Now, some good, some bad, but a question mark. This, to me, now eliminates the question mark. There's no question. And now, with the coaching staff, they can focus on other areas, I think. Like quarterback, we've got that. We're good there, set, moving on to something else.
Okay. Now, when you didn't have elite quarterback play, like you said, you still went out there and played as hard as you could. And as a player, I think we all feel like we got a chance. But once we're away from the game now. We've been away from the game for a little bit. We look back and say, without a quarterback, you don't have a chance. You may have if you got an outstanding defense, but without a great quarterback, your chances are slim to none of winning a Super Bowl.
Oh, absolutely. Even making a deep playoff run without a good quarterback. Even winning this division with all the other talented quarterbacks out there, you've got an uphill climb if you don't have a great quarterback. So Russell Wilson gives this team that great quarterback play, but also great quarterbacks, as Ryan mentioned, have that effect of making everyone more confident. They are the rising tide that lifts all boats. The grass is cut a little bit better when you have a great quarterback. The lines on the field are a little bit straighter when you have a great quarterback. Russell Wilson will have that effect on this entire Bronco organization.
Now, what about Coach Hackett? What part does he play in that? Because that's a huge part, being able to communicate with your players. You can have the system, you can have the players, but if you don't have the coach with the system and the right mentality that he's the energy that he's giving off to the players, that can be a problem as well. What do you think about that, Ryan?
I think the biggest thing for Nathaniel Hackett is actually accountability. First-time head coaches, the tendencies to coach the players, but when you're in the NFL, you know when a coach called a bad play. And the great coaches I played for, they would always say, guys, this one's on me. We're going through your film. We're going to go through mine too. My plays are on here too. And because the biggest thing for players is, can I trust this coach? Are they going to be consistent? And how do they handle their failure? I mean, we look to our leaders to teach us how to handle failure. And for Nathaniel Hackett, a first-time head coach, that can be awkward to say, guys, I made a play call mistake. But guess what? That's going to happen. Be open and honest about that, and that way you get the trust of your team early in offense.
It's kind of odd, right? A lot of times you see the experienced head coach and the rookie quarterback. Right? And this is the total opposite of that.
Rookie head coach.
Right?
Yeah.
Rookie play caller, a veteran offensive coordinator. And so now that's entirely different here. Like, Russ is not going to learn anything, right? Russ has seen everything, I think at least, and how they communicate in that relationship will be very interesting.
You know, this is a training camp period. Everything is great. Everyone gives a great effort at practice. Everything, our game plans have been great. Our practice structure has been great. It's not going to always be great during the regular season. So for a coach who preaches positivity and high energy, what happens when you win a game, lose a game or two, and you've got to be a little tougher on the guys? Can the guys respect that part of you as well? So a coach, you have to find that balance. We'll see how Coach Hackett performs that here in year one.
Okay. See Albert Okwuegbunam on the reception. Tight ends. Bringing up, you know, as we move on from Coach Hackett, tight ends, Albert Okwuegbunam, Greg Dosich, you got Andrew Beck, kind of fullback, tight end, very talented guy. Eric Saubert.
Huge fight going on right now.
Oh, there we go.
Everybody's in
Big
now.
brawl.
It happens every single time. I've never seen a joint practice when that didn't happen.
And that's dangerous, man, because, you know, you can start getting those piles. All kinds of things happen underneath those piles, man. No inch of skin is safe. And then just the sheer weight of all those grown men falling on you with shoulder pads.
You sound like you've done some crazy stuff underneath that.
I've been in a pile or two. You know, I wouldn't advise you get in one with me. You know, because
I've been in with the lineman. He bit my finger back when I was in college. Like, come on, man, what are you doing?
I had somebody try and pull my kneecap apart. You know, things you didn't even know existed happening in the bottom of those piles. You know,
private parts being grabbed, eyes being poked. I have been involved in a few training camp brawls.
And you guys weren't wearing Guardian caps at the
time.
time.
I know.
But it's always funny. There's always a defender who swings with his fist at a helmet. And
why
you're
would you
thinking,
do that?
this guy's just proving the lie, man. Proving the lie.
It's interesting that both of the skirmishes have been on the Broncos defense versus Cowboys offense side of the field. We haven't seen any pushing and shoving here on the Broncos offense versus Cowboys defense
That
side.
is interesting. Why would that be? Is it normally the defensive player started? Or well, I know, Ryan, you're going to say the defensive player. Chad, we're going to say the offensive player started it.
You know, I think when you got Draymond Jones is a sneaky great player, and he's dynamic. He can embarrass you. And you got Bradley Chubb, who's got the world to prove wrong. And then you got Kareem Jackson trying to prove he can still play at an elite level. So there's a lot to prove for these guys. And Kareem Jackson, Justin Simmons, they talk to each other. You're getting to go against Dak Prescott. You might see him in the playoffs again this year. You take this opportunity to play against one of the greats.
Now, Bradley Chubb has gotten into training camp fights with Garrett Bowles, his own teammate, a number of times in the last couple of years. So this ain't new for Bradley Chubb, a little extra pushing and shoving, or extras, as we call them on the field. Little extras.
Oh, that's too funny. I looked like I saw a pick six over here.
Hey, defenders on. Hey, there was no angles to the sideline, man. You can't have a pick six in practice.
Okay, all right.
But no, it looked like was that Russ that threw that one?
I'm not sure who threw that.
Yeah,
one.
but you know the Cowboys too. They got a little bit of animosity towards the Broncos. They thought they had Randy Gregory last year, and Randy Gregory ended up coming here to Denver. So he's got a little buddies that want to show him something, even if he's not out there on the field.
And let's not forget, last year the Broncos' best game of the season was down there in Dallas.
That's what I was about to say. Do you feel like, hey, some of these guys, hey man, we got to make up for that because they were favored.
Yes,
heavily. The Cowboys were heavily favored in that game. Broncos came out, put a nice little thumping on them.
Thumping.
Yeah. Well, guys, this has been awesome. I really appreciate it. Like I say, man, 3 of my favorite guys. Congratulations again. I know you guys are going to do a great job with all the preseason games, and I'm sure I'll see you more throughout the year, man. We appreciate you so much. Keep up the great work.
Hey, I like hanging out with you because I know when people are screaming Steve, they're talking to you.
No.
And not me.
They're talking about you. Forget Steve Atwater. We want Steve Levy.
No, the Hall of Famer.
The Hall of Famer guy with the Super Bowl ring on. That's the guy.
That's the guy.
They don't care about that.
That's the guy. That's the guy.
All right, Alexis, back over to you.
Thanks so much, Steve. I am so excited to hear from those guys in the booth over the next 3 weeks for Broncos preseason football on Channel 20. The first game is just 2 days away as these two teams will go head-to-head at 7 o'clock at Empower Field at Mile High. Then the Broncos will head to Buffalo. That game will kick off at 11 a.m. locally, and then they'll cap things off Saturday the 27th against the Minnesota Vikings. Another 7 o'clock kickoff for that one. Be sure to tune in to Channel 20 if you are unable to make it out to Empower Field at Mile High. Well, I'll tell you, quite a few people were able to make it out here to the UC Health Training Center. I don't know how many fans. I'm going to guess around 9,000 people were out here watching these two teams go head-to-head for this joint practice here today. Steve, of course, things got physical. We will get to that here in just a little bit. But first, let's go ahead and talk about this Denver Broncos offense. Here specifically in the red zone, what did you see from them?
Well, Coach Hackett calls it the goal zone.
And
guess what? They're going to dig. They're going to come up with a lot of goals this year if they play anything like they played out here on the field today. They scored 3 or 4 times. That's really impressive in the red zone. I know for the Cowboys defense, it's a little bit demoralized because you never want to let the opposing team score. But, the guys were in the right places. Albert Okwuegbunam had a beautiful catch where he bobbed it a little bit and was able to reel it in. A couple other guys had great catches as well. But they're making plays where it counts.
Speaking of not letting the other team score in the red zone, Denver's defense did not allow a single touchdown for the Dallas offense in that red zone period. That had to feel real good.
Oh!
But I will say things got really physical on that side of the field. 7 skirmishes, according to our good friend Andrew Mason, who's obviously covering this team. Why do you think things were so heated on that side?
Well, it could be because last year we went into Dallas and no one was expecting us to win. We came out and we kind of put it on them, and they may be upset for that. Like, hey, you guys have to do that to us at our home stadium.
Yeah.
So it's just a little bit chippy, and I think joint practices are chippy already.
Yeah.
But yes, 7 or 8 fights. I don't know if I've seen that many.
Yeah, their tight end Dalton Schultz heading into this joint practice said that they were still a little irked about that game last year, so I think that might have had something to do with it. On defense for this Broncos team, who were the biggest risers today, Steve?
Well, I think the rookies showed up. Nick Bonito making plays off the edge, got quite a few sacks out there. Also on the edge, Damari Mathis making plays, Faion Hicks making plays. And I got the vet Bradley Chubb came up and had a nice solid hit. I don't know if they got upset about that or not because I don't know if they're being that physical or not, but Bradley laid the wood on one of the running backs. So this defense looking really good. And, again, the rookies stepping up and making plays.
Is this defense as good as we thought they were throughout the first 2 weeks?
You know what, I think so. Again, it's not live, so running backs aren't really running to try and run you over, and receivers aren't doing all the things they would do if it was live. But, man, I got to say, I really love what I see. I think this defense is going to be super dominant. And obviously it's going to have a lot to do with what happens in the trenches. What are our defensive linemen doing? What's DJ Jones doing, Draymond Jones, Mike Purcell? What are those guys doing up in the middle there?
What's your biggest takeaway from today's practice?
My biggest takeaway is we have playmakers.
Yeah.
We have playmakers on the offensive side of the ball. I've been talking about him since the start of the camp, really since he was drafted. Montreal Washington, he's out here making plays every single day. I know he's catching the coach's eyes. He's catching my eyes. In Broncos country, you're going to be impressed by number 12.
So much more than a punt and kick returner, that is for sure. Steve, as we look back at the last 14 practices, what really excites you about this Denver Broncos football team, and what are maybe some loose ends that they need to work on over the next few weeks?
Well, obviously the defense excites me. They've been playing really well. At the start of camp, I was saying, man, is it just the offense isn't up to speed yet, or is this defense really this good? And I think they're going to be that good. And as I mentioned earlier, we got to make sure when we put the pads on, we can still do what we're doing right now, but they're looking extremely good. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, I'm not going to say I'm concerned because I always know that when you put a new offense in, you got a new head coach, new quarterback, it takes a little while to gel. So I'm going to give them till 4th, 5th game of the season before they hit mid-stride. But to be honest, I don't have any worries, but that would be the only one if one.
Steve, I just want to thank you so much for your hosting skills and your analysis over the past 2 weeks. You've been absolutely stellar, some amazing guests. What were some of the highlights for you?
Well, really just getting a chance to spend time with the guys. We get a chance to do this at least once a year, and obviously we see each other throughout the offseason. So it's always fun. We can come back, chop it up over the one thing that we all have in common, the one thing we love is this Broncos football.
Broncos football, and we will have you covered throughout the entire season with some great content coming out of our studio here at the UC Health Training Center. You guys can follow us at Broncos TV on Instagram and Twitter for more promos of that content coming out. And as always, you can find it at denverbroncos.com, the Broncos YouTube channel, and the Broncos 365 app. I have to say, from our entire Broncos preseason crew, Rod Mackey included in that, everybody working diligently behind the scenes to put this show together over the last 2 weeks. We are so thankful for each and every one of you tuning in every day throughout Broncos training camp. We cannot wait to see you at Empower Field at Mile High for the season opener against the Houston Texans. Man, a little over a month away, Steve. It's coming fast.
It's coming quickly.
Love it. We'll see you all then.